The next area that we looked at were what the districts call non-affiliated positions. These are not teaching positions, they're not administrative positions. They might be secretary to the superintendent, might be director of buildings and grounds, transportation supervisor, cafeteria supervisor, those kinds of positions. Currently, Romulus has 3.2 of these. South Seneca has 4.4 of these people. Again, combined, the districts have 4.6. I have 7.6, I'm sorry. And again, without trying to skip some of the detail, we have recommended that through the elimination of what would be duplicate positions, you only need one superintendent secretary, not two. If you only have one superintendent, not two. Those kinds of reductions. We believe that in the area of non-affiliated positions, we could save about $200,000 if the districts merged. These are the specific positions in the non-affiliated area that we talked about. There's one transportation supervisor, one superintendent of buildings and grounds, one cafeteria manager, one director of technology, and one superintendent secretary. That's where the savings of about $200,000 could come from. We next looked at the structure of the business offices that handle all the finances for the two school districts. And the business offices for the two districts are structured a little bit differently. Romulus contracts with BOCES for a significant portion of the operation of their business office, whereas South Seneca has more people on staff currently. But when you look at salaries, benefits, the contracts the districts have with BOCES, currently, bottom line, the two school districts spend about $355,000 on running two business offices. Our recommendation would be that instead of having two business offices, you can have one business office, and that the structure of having staff in the district similar to the South Seneca model, along with the BOCES support that the Romulus model has, we believe if you put those two pieces together, you can adequately manage the finances of a merged school district. And I'm sorry, I missed it back in this slide. And we believe that by putting the two business offices together, we could save about $122,000. So this is kind of a summary table with respect to the financial impact of the staffing conversations that we had and that I've just been describing to you. One of the things that we know happens is that the school districts here, Romulus, where the R is, and in some cases South Seneca, have some of their positions through BOCES. They are shared positions with other school districts. They are part-time in Romulus and South Seneca. For example, a Romulus business official is only 40% of his day is spent in Romulus. He's in Seneca Falls the other 3 days of the week. So he's a shared person. And the same thing as all these other people. The state provides an additional kind of state aid to school districts to encourage them to share people through BOCES. They give them an extra kind of state aid. They give them more money if they will share with another district. And on average, with all the detailed calculations, the state gives these two districts about 39% of their money back by having positions go through BOCES. So one of the things that would be lost if we went to full-time positions, as we've been talking about, is this extra state aid that comes from the state for these shared positions. So, position by position, this is how much revenue comes into the school districts for sharing through BOCES, which if we no longer are sharing through BOCES, that money doesn't come in anymore. So we would lose about $137,000 in BOCES aid because we're recommending full-time positions, not these part-time positions that are shared and generating this extra kind of aid. Let me try to put this all together, and hopefully this will make some sense. These are the things that I've been talking about for the last few minutes. I started off by saying, what are we really talking about in terms of major financial impact? Well, we talked about the possibility, again, conservatively, if salaries for teachers are going to be leveled up, that's a minus for the merged district. That's a cost. That's additional money that the district is going to have to come up with. That's going to cost about $109,000. We've just shown that if we don't share positions, the new district is going to lose $137,000 in this extra BOCES aid money. So those are costs. Those are negatives, if you will. On the other side of the ledger, we've talked about a reduction of 2 teachers due to the consolidating of the core academic classes. No class more than 22 kids. 2 teachers will save the district about $150,000. We talked about reducing 1.8 administrative staff. That's 1 superintendent, for example, plus another 0.8. That would save about $290,000. The reduction of the non-affiliated staff, superintendent secretary, transportation supervisor, superintendent of buildings and grounds, would save another $200,000. Consolidation of the business offices would save about $122,000 more. Bottom line, if you put all these pluses and minuses together, from a staffing standpoint, we would estimate that if all of this were to be put into place, that the merged district could save about $500,000 over their current costs. So, with respect to staff, our final recommendation is, should a merger occur, the board should develop a plan for appropriate staffing levels in the district and implement that plan to make sure that the staffing is appropriate and that potential savings are realized as we have just outlined. That's it, and now back to Bill.
It's a nice segue into the overall financial picture. Thank you, Alan. And I know the board knows this, but for the members that are here for the first time this evening, and I know the committee members know this, you can see how much detail there is in one of these studies, and we've only really, with this presentation, highlighted the major findings. There's much more detail in the text of the full report, and I know it'll be available to anyone that would like to see that from either district. Of course, in addition to improving and maintaining program for young people, the second major concern I've already mentioned is what's going to happen to my taxes if the districts merge. And so in addition to all the financial data Alan has already shared with you related to staffing, we took a look at other financial variables that would impact on the finances of a merged district. We always start with taking a look at the support each school district has historically from its community, because this is a barometer of how much faith your community has in your 2 respective boards and the previous boards that have put together financial plans. And indeed, if budgets typically pass, we know that as boards of education and your predecessors, you've done a good job because the community thinks you're doing the right kinds of things in terms of what you offer for kids and the tax load that they can bear. And indeed, that's what we found. As you can see, we took a look at an 11-year snapshot of the budget voting history in the 2 districts. And we found that over the 11 years, Romulus has passed budgets on 9 of the 11 years. First time, South Seneca has passed 10 of the 11. That's a very good passing rate, but I'd like to pat you on the back, but the state passing rate is about 90% anyhow for school districts, but it's still a very good measure of your community support for the work that you folks have done. So you should be proud of that. We took a look at the current financial condition as of the snapshot that we took as we engaged in our work in this study. Both districts, as you can, well, let's see, you can see here, the unassigned fund balance, which is basically leftover money at the end of the year that once you've taken some money out for reducing the tax levy and other kinds of things, this is money for, I guess you could say, emergency purposes, but it really isn't assigned to anything. In the year that we looked at, both districts had about 3.9% unassigned fund balances of the subsequent year's budget, which is good because it's just below the 4% that's required by the state, and yet it's, most people, or some people at least, would say that that's adequate for, emergencies and so forth. So that's one indicator that the districts, you have done a good job managing the fiscal conditions of the districts. Both districts have established reserve accounts, which are, as you know, as board members, are accounts set aside for specific purposes. You've reserved that money. And for example, capital reserves, Romulus, at the snapshot we took, had $2.2 million, and South Seneca had $50,000. And so you can see all of the reserves in the detail in the report. We also took a look at the history of fund balance for the two districts, because generally if funds balance is going down, that's a problem. Particularly the unassigned portion of the fund balance is going down, that's a problem. And what we found was that both of your districts, your boards have done a good job preparing, I think, for what you saw was a fiscal difficult time ahead and trying to squirrel away reserves and manage your fund balance appropriately. So these were all indicators that caused us to conclude that your districts have, your boards, you two boards have done a good job, as good a job as any we've seen in trying to plan for the situation that everyone's confronting right now. As I've mentioned, you're in two different BOCES. At the same time, your districts, both your districts spend a fair amount of money to purchase both these BOCES services from your respective BOCES. You can see, as I'm sure you know, with the BOCES contract each year, all the services that each of your districts purchase from the BOCES. And so we take a look at that to see how much are BOCES services, and as Alan mentioned, with some of the staffing issues, BOCES aid would be lost for some of the staffing positions that would be brought in-house, as Alan has already mentioned. And again, we don't know as of today the determination as to which BOCES a combined district would be going to. The BOCES aid ratios are, Romulus is about 61% on a dollar return in BOCES aid, and South Seneca is about 68% in terms of BOCES aid ratio.